Edgar Ross is one of the most quietly impactful characters in the Red Dead Redemption series. A man who, from the shadows, helps shape the downfall of the Linde Gang and eventually seals the fate of both Arthur Morgan and John Marston. In Red Dead Redemption 2, we see Ross not as the central antagonist he becomes in the first game, but as a rising bureau agent, ambitious, manipulative, and ruthless beneath a polite government facade. Ross works alongside Agent Milton under the Bureau of Investigation, an early version of what would later become the FBI. While Milton handles most of the direct confrontation with the gang, especially Arthur Morgan and Dutch, Ross stands behind him, observing, calculating, and waiting for the right moment to advance his career. Even at this stage, he's already playing the long game. From the moment he appears in Red Dead Redemption 2, Ross embodies a new era that's closing in on outlaws like the Linde Gang. He represents modernization, law, and the end of the wild frontier. But he's no noble lawman. His actions are driven by self-interest and a cold sense of duty. He doesn't care about justice in a moral sense, only about results and power. While Milton tries to reason with Arthur, showing flashes of humanity, Ross is far more cynical. He sees the gang as relics, problems to be erased rather than understood. After Milton's death during the St. Denis assault, Ross effectively steps into the lead role. From there, his work goes deeper underground, but the consequences of his involvement stretch far beyond what we see in Red Dead Redemption 2. He's directly responsible for tracking Dutch's movements after the gang's collapse, and plays a major role in ensuring that the government never stops hunting John Marston. By the end of Red Dead Redemption 2, Ross is already investigating Beecher's Hope. We even see him visiting the Marston Ranch in the epilogue with Agent Archer Fordham, disguised as a friendly government representative. But players who know the first game immediately recognize the foreshadowing. This is the beginning of the end. Ross isn't there to make peace. He's laying the groundwork for the events of Red Dead Redemption 1, where he will later blackmail John into hunting down the remnants of his old gang. What makes Ross such an effective villain isn't that he's evil in a dramatic sense. It's that he's ordinary. A bureaucrat who kills with paperwork as much as with a gun. He doesn't fight for ideals like Dutch or redemption like Arthur. He enforces control and progress, believing that civilization has no room for men like them. In a way, he's the embodiment of the world that's replacing the Old West. One driven by law, technology, and quiet corruption. When we finally face him years later in Red Dead Redemption 1, the transformation is complete. He's older, smug, and comfortable in his power. He sends John to hunt down his former friends, and when that's done, betrays him anyway. The man who once stood silently beside Milton becomes the one to orchestrate the death of both Marstons, father and son stories linked by his ambition.